Hello there. Okay, I think this video is starting. I'm gonna call this test. I'm gonna call this video the Russian test. This is very important. This is one way I can identify whether or not a woman is actually honest or actually reading my profile. Okay, I'll give you this example. This woman, here we go. Uh, she wrote a letter to me, and she's talking about how her husband came home late, cheating on her, probably beat her, and she has a rather delightful look about her. Okay, so here she is, and she has two kids. Okay, all right, here we go. So I write her a letter in Russian, and I said, your letter is very interesting to me. In marriage, I suffered a lot. Perhaps I understand you. I want to know, do you want more children? Okay, my my letter in Russian is very short. It's to the point. Um, Russians love and Ukrainians love brevity. They want something to be very quick and very easy to understand. So that's how my letter in Russian is. I could have written it differently. I wrote Hachuyasnat in order for her to understand that I'm not using a translator. The translators would never do it this way. Okay, that's just the way it is. It would be Yahachusnat, not Hachuyasnat. This is the way I talk normally in Russian. I would actually say in Russian also Bolshedieti, Hochisliti. That's a little different way of saying it. Okay, so I'm gonna go to previous here, change it, and this is her answer to me. And if you look at her answer, it's in Russian. Okay, she talks to me in Russian, straight out. Now, if you look at it, she acts like a very normal Russian woman, and this is something that if you don't speak in Russian, you can't identify, but I can identify very easily. And basically, if you speak in Russian, then the real Russian girl comes out in her Russian letter to you, and you can see what's going on. So here she says, like, hello, my dear, what happened with your marriage? Why did you suffer? I want a big family. I think that if a man gives me the feeling of safety and happiness, actually gives me the feeling of happiness and under protection, I'll give him what what is that? A strong piesto. I don't know what that is. And of course, I'd be happy to have more children. Okay. Now, the way she's writing very colloquially. Writing very normally. It's actually very fun to write to see what she is saying here. She's very normal. Uh, this is like the cream of the crop. This is something. This is why it's so fun to do these kind of letters in Russian, because you get to see what she's actually saying. Now, if you look at her city, she's in Kharkov. All right, Kharkov is one of the cities I've noticed where the women, if they actually are interested in me, and I write to them in Russian, they will reply back in Russian. There's no problem with this. They will do it. Also, the other cities I notice that do this are Odessa, Kiev. Any city west of Kiev will do it. If I write in Ukrainian to any girl west of Kiev and she's actually interested in me, she will babble like crazy in Ukrainian. I have long letters of girls just going nuts writing to me. They're like, wow, you're a foreigner and you speak in Ukrainian. I don't believe this. And, it takes some time to actually edit them. I know Ukrainian grammar, and I don't have a real writer here. I have to use Google Translate, to be honest. But Google Translate is horrible. Just to tell you, Google Translate is particularly horrible in Ukrainian, and it's also bad in Russian. So I actually have to go through there and change things like plural to singular, a lot of masculine and plural to feminine. There's things that Google Translate does that are just totally stupid, the wrong verbs, the wrong conjugations, the wrong cases. So I have to go through there and change all of that, and I make a real letter. Actually, I use Google Translate for this as well. I just entered it in Russian. I entered in using English letters that translated into Russian letters, and then was translated into what put together into Russian words. The one thing I do like about Google Translate is that if I write in Russian, it'll give me a spell check, and then it'll also give me a grammar check, which is very nice. But data input is real bitch, I'll tell you that. So we have here a profile of a woman who is most likely honest. And most likely she's not using a translator, because translators rarely will write back in Russian. And here we go. We've got one in Russian. So I don't need to, honestly speaking, I shouldn't be paying $2 per letter to talk with her, because I'm the one who's the translator here. It's not the site. I'm writing to her in Russian. There's no translation going on. Okay? And she says normal stuff. How many children is ideal for you and a family? And can you love my children? Can you love them as your own? And basically, although I just want to sit back and say, Russian women and Ukrainian women are notorious. The single mothers are notorious for not having any other children. However, if they're single mothers, they're notorious for remarrying and not giving any children to the next guy, even if the next guy is nice. They won't do it. This one is like a few that I've met who will want nothing more than to be loved by a good man and knock out kids for him too. She's like a baby machine. There's nothing wrong with that. If she's into it, good for you, good for me. Anyway, this is a good example. This is how I use Russian. You need to be very skillful in this area. Few people can do this. Basically, if you write a letter in Russian, make sure your Russian is correct. Because if it's not, and they know you're using Google Translate badly, or if your grammar is bad, they have an excuse basically to keep on writing to you in English. But if you know your Russian is good, like I do, then you can, if they write to you in English, or they say, oh, you're using a translator or something like that, you can be like, fuck you, bitch. I know this is correct, and you're just using English as a justification for money, and you're a translator. Because if the girl is into you, okay? If she's into you, and you write to her in Russian, she will be overjoyed. And she will have no problem writing back to you in Russian. And also, this girl obviously read my profile. My profile is 100% in Russian. And I say in there, please write to me in Russian. So she read my letter in Russian, she read my profile, she thought about me for a while, and then she responded. And this is rare. I get probably, I probably get only one Russian letter like this, or one woman who writes to me in Russian every 3 or 4 months. The last time was February. All the others are just sprayed out in English. And I know that the reason is because I'm dealing with scammers. I'm also dealing sometimes with women who actually are really, really, really good in English. And they actually really hate Ukraine. And that's something you can look for to kind of excuse that to some degree. If they're writing something like, I absolutely hate Ukraine and I want to leave right now, and their English happens to be perfect, and they say on their profile that their English is perfect, it's a little bit more likely you're talking to somebody who's actually honest. It's a little bit more likely. You just have to wait. Yeah, you have to play around with it, see if you can catch them. But I've met a few women like that who are really honest and their English was perfect, really like basically native, and they only talk to me in Russian. So they only talk to me in English. The other thing too is that they talked with me outside the site, also in English. They kept on going because they didn't want to speak in Russian or Ukrainian. They were sick of their own country. Anyway, this is a good profile. This woman's actually good. I write this. I'm not worried because I know you guys will. If anybody will see this. Again, she's got 2 kids. The possibility of her getting remarried is really low. So I'm not worried. I'm not going after this either. Okay. Talk to you later.